You are listening to episode number 3 of the Motion Podcast. My name is Maureen Hullahan. I'm a former college and pro basketball player turned entrepreneur, writer, and director of Motion Youth Basketball and Fitness. At Motion, we offer expertise, inspiration, training, and excellence in youth basketball. It brings me great pride to say that I've reconnected with Katie Smith, the WNBA's all-time leading scorer and 3-time gold medal winner. I knew Katie as my tough and talented defensive assignment 2 times a year for 3 out of my 4 years at Northwestern. I also had a chance to interview Katie post-college, and I didn't think she'd remember me. When I approached her, she said, "What's up, Mo?" Prior to being selected as one of the top 15 players in WNBA history, Katie was a high school Gatorade National Player of the Year, 2-time Big Ten Conference Player of the Year, and the record breaker for the top scoring player, male or female, in the Big Ten. This Logan, Ohio native toughed out 15 seasons as a professional player. Katie has spent the last 2 seasons as an assistant coach to the New York Liberty. Basketball fans hear and see Katie calling several games across the country during the winter hoop season for the Big Ten Network and ESPN. In this episode, you will learn how playing several sports helped Katie develop as a young athlete, how her parents were proud, yet they constantly reminded her about the best players and teams all over the country, how Katie managed the wild crowds by teaching herself to turn pressure into joy, how she endured and recovered from 2 ACL reconstructions and a herniated disc in her back, and lastly, how she's embraced the transition from star player to role player to assistant coach to hopefully a head coach at the college or professional level. Before we start, I'd like to admit that I'm still working on my podcasting game. The microphone dropped, but the video's camera's microphone picked up the interview. Sorry that sounds a little distant, and I promise you it will not happen again. Here we go with episode number 3 of the Motion Podcast. We're here with Katie Smith. Welcome to Harlem and to the Mo Grit podcast.
Yes, I'm happy to be here. This is fun.
Well, it's really fun for me. We're doing a series of podcast videos or just the audio. And one of the most impressive things about you when I looked up your history is that you are the most successful person I've ever had to guard. And you are one of the most successful players in the history of the WNBA and in women's basketball. So when people say that about you, how do you feel when someone introduces you with all your accomplishments?
It's a little surreal because, when you're probably like yourself, when you're in something and you're doing something, you don't think of, I guess, how big it is because you're just doing your job and you do what you love and you're working hard at it. So sometimes you're like, oh, I did that. So then it's like, oh yeah, I did that. All right, this is pretty cool. But it's sometimes it's just appreciation, but it's honestly just more of a wow. Growing up in Logan, where I came from, and here I am, and did all these fun things was pretty amazing. So
well, let's talk about that because I looked up your history and I looked up Logan, and you have 2 brothers. Yeah. Right, and they were successful, and your dad was. When did you know? At what age?
So basketball, sports in general was part of our family. My dad played college football. Mom swam in high school, but we were all active. So probably 5th and 6th grade is when I think first got. I think I went to a camp in 6th grade, like an overnight camp at Ohio University, and the coach was like, your kid's going to be pretty good. So that's kind of when I was like, oh, I might stick with this. And you maybe got your first letter, because we got letters earlier, I think, than the kids do now. But it was somewhere around that time where I was like, I'm pretty good at basketball, and I think, some doors could open.
And your dad, what role did he play in this?
He worked with us all the time. He played obviously high school basketball and some other things, but we'd go outside and he'd try to teach us like the fundamentals. So he'd make sure we do a layup the right way, shooting the right way, little things like that. Nothing like, you got to practice for 2 hours or anything like that. But it was more, I'm going to teach you, let's do it the right way. And then let's go from there. So it wasn't, we did everything also. It wasn't just it was basketball. I was out playing football with my brothers. We were out. I did the baseball, the little rec league, softball, we did soccer. So we were involved in a lot of stuff, and sometimes they were our coaches. But in general, for the basketball, Dad just made sure that when we did do stuff, we did it properly and had the technique. He made sure that we did that.
That's the Tiger Woods rule, where his father, when he was 2, put him in the garage and showed him the perfect swing while he was eating all the time. So he never saw bad habits. Your brothers, did they motivate you, or did you have rivalries? Did you fight with them a lot?
I didn't fight a ton with them. They're my biggest fans. Right. When I played AAU growing up, And actually, I played on an all boys team in 5th and 6th grade because there's girls teams everywhere. At whatever age you want, there's girls teams. Back in the day, you played with the guys. So the 5th and 6th grade, all my buddies and I was the only girl that played with all of them. So my brothers played they were a little younger. My older brother didn't play at the time. And we just, that's it. You just play basketball. It wasn't girl, guys, whatever. So, but we would play at home, and I was still pretty tall for a while, even with them, and they hit their growth spurts later. Right. They were all right in basketball, skill-wise, but they just tried to back me down. But other than that, they couldn't do it. But honestly, we didn't have many rivalries in that sense because they kind of were in other sports. But as I said, even at AAU, they were our cheerleaders, all the brothers. When we went to tournaments, they would run us out with the Ohio flag and spell Ohio on the ground, laying around. So, honestly, no real rivalries. And they even deal with being acknowledged as Katie Smith's brother, a lot of times. And they don't even get upset about it. I'm sure they've had their moments, but in general, just proud guys.
Well, they were quite accomplished as football players, but when you have a sister who's the Gatorade National Player of the Year, they're probably asking more about that. Can your sister beat you?
Right, that's you? When they're younger, I don't know how they really dealt with it, and maybe they got a little bit more annoyed. Obviously, when you get older, you don't think about it. But my brother played D3 football. Older brother, little brother did Division I football as a walk-on to track. So we all had our little niche. And as I said, I'm sure they got asked a lot, and it probably were asked, can your sister beat you? I mean, I don't know their conversations they have with others, but I have a feeling they've had some things that they maybe didn't like. But honestly, in general, I just think they're always like, probably my sister could kick your butt or something. Right. So it probably was okay in their minds.
What about your mom? She didn't have a chance to play. My mother didn't.
Yeah, she didn't play basketball. She did swim in high school. But just, both my parents, I think, in general, for me, they just kind of laid the platform or the foundation of, hard work, attention to detail. You're not the best thing ever. There's always somebody else out there that's either better than you or probably working harder than you, and you can never, rest on your laurels. So they always made sure, not to say that they didn't think you were great, but they also acknowledged, brought clippings from or showed you things that other people were doing around the state, just so that you in your little bubble didn't think like you're the only thing that existed. You know what I mean? They just kept you kind of grounded in a sense throughout the whole thing.
So your mom and dad, they didn't push you, but there was an expectation if you're going to do something, you're going to do it well? Yeah.
I mean, they get exposed us to everything, which is something I think's big. I don't, the kids now get real specialized in sports, but we did we were in 4-H, I did tap and ballet, I did, the basketball, I did soccer, biddy, all that. And then obviously when you get into junior high was, volleyball, basketball, and track. We were still in 4-H. Right. We still had our hands on a lot of things. But yeah, we had our responsibilities. We, fed the animals at home. As we got older, mom and dad did more of the work because we were out and about. But yeah, we just always just took care of business. You did your homework. We're lucky enough not to have like summer jobs and things like that. But we were all involved in sports. School was a priority, and any other things outside of that. But for them, just making us try other things was, I think, crucial. Because then you not only figure out what you're good at, but then you respect others and what they're doing. Because you don't realize how hard all these things are.
Let's talk about tap dance. I've tried it. It's really hard.
I don't remember any of it, but I did it for a while, and I think that helped too with the discipline. Because the tap dance and ballet, it's nothing but it's teamwork. You have a team, you're on time, you're doing the same routine, you have a teacher watching you, and she was a great teacher, but she was demanding too. It was not hey, show up and just do a little shuffle off the buffalo or something. It was legit like choreographed performance with others, and I think that also helped in a sense of working with teams and being coached, and all these things I think go into it. So
when did you start specializing, or would you just knock off a few things each year?
Yeah, so 4-H obviously was in. Ballet and tap ended junior high. I couldn't do all that. And then, honestly, it was just volleyball, basketball, and track all the way through high school. Okay. And then, obviously, during the summers, AAU, basketball, and some camps. Like Blue Star, our camps were a little different, like team camps. And
they were better, I thought.
Yeah, the Ohio State camp, their college camps, really go there. And that's where you got a lot of exposure to other, coaches, and then, obviously, the AAU. So, all the way through high school was 3 sports. And then, honestly, going into college is when it was like, this is all you're going to do for who knows how long you play, and it ended up being a long time.
Well, now, what was your day like? Because I always try to talk to kids about the discipline with the amount of homework kids get nowadays. Like, what would you come home from school, or would you do it after school, and then you eat, and then you do 2 hours of homework?
Yeah. I know. You're dating me. But, honestly, I think we came home. Mom was, she stayed at home during that time and went back to work later. We'd get something to eat, and I think we'd do our homework initially. And then obviously, depending on when practice. So sometimes you had to, if you didn't have a lot of gym space, which a lot of these kids are dealing with, you may have practice right after school, you may have it later. So kind of depending on what the situation is, you may practice right away, then you do your homework, eat, and go to bed. Or just as soon as we got home, if we were home, we do our homework. And then obviously we go outside.
Shoot.
When we were younger, I would go outside and mess around, on our little half court was gravel once, and then it got cemented. And just go out and play. And we go play football. We run around the woods and just be outside.
That's what we did too, and we were unsupervised. It was survival of the fittest. No one was bailing anyone else out. Mm-mm. Did you have any fans like in the NBA? I was a big Larry Bird fan. Were you a Larry Bird fan?
I liked Larry Bird. I liked all of them. I'm not a super this is my favorite. Love Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. I love James Worthy. Larry Bird. Even like that basketball back then. It was just I just remember watching the games, but you would just watch everybody and be like, all right, and then you would just take little things from each of them and be like, oh, I'd like to do that. Women's basketball wasn't as big as it is now. But I did go to Ohio University a lot. My parents, went to school there. I was really close. We had season tickets, and their team, Carolyn Mast, and they had a really nice team. So I would watch them. So some of those players I, became fans of, but it wasn't like it's in your face on TV and the papers or anything like that. It was just more like exposure from, folks taking us to games.
So you ended up being the Gatorade National Player of the Year and going to Ohio State and playing for Nancy Darsh. And you ended up in the NCAA title game your freshman year after winning the Big Ten, and you were the talk of the league. I was like ranked, I think, preseason first team, and then you came into my life and ruined that, along with our point guard who blew out her knee. But I just remember hearing about you and then seeing you, and then you just performed so quickly against women who are 4 years older than you.
Yeah, and that's, with every level, I think, obviously kids, going into junior high and then high school, and then high school to college and college into the pros, I don't know, you probably tell your kids this, none of the drills really change. You still do 3-man weave, you still do breakdown, you still do close out, you still do box out drills. Like, none of the drills get fancier. It's just you are dealing with either better basketball players, better skills, better athletes, and taller, bigger, faster, stronger. It's just at a higher pace, and you have to think quicker, and you have to get it done. But none of it, what you're doing, all those fundamentals, you're still doing it at a professional level in the same way, but then you're just going at it at a different speed and against different people, and you got to use your brain. So that's what I always tell. Just like for me, obviously, was blessed with a body that could deal with, was a good athlete. But then the biggest thing is being able to think the game and compete and just catching on in all types of areas, and obviously having that base skill set helps. But then you got to start everything speeds up.
Well, I tell the kids that I work with, the boys in particular, I started with them in 4th grade. That was my first group. And I told them, if you listen to me, I will teach you everything you need to know by 6th grade. The question is, can you adjust? Can you read and react? When it gets bigger, faster, stronger, can you get tougher? Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things that I remember distinctly about you is when I would guard you for 3 years, so it was twice a season, and I did okay. I think one game at Northwestern you played very well, and I just sort of was like, she's really good. But I always did well until my senior year, my 5th year. Coach Pirelli came to me and said, I was miserable, the team wasn't doing well, and said, we're going to put Katrina Hanford on Katie. And I said, why? I've guarded her for two years. I know her better than anyone on the team. He's like, we need more offensive power from you. You're leading the team in every category, which I was, including turnovers. But I was working so hard, and that's not a good deal. No, when you're working that hard.
Don't you have the ball in your hand that much.
Right. So they're like, we don't want you to guard Katie because we need an offense. I said, all right, if you think if that's what the team wants. So Katrina Hannaford is a great athlete, but she's really thin. And I was originally worried that you were just going to run her over, but what you did is you got her in foul trouble.
Real quick. Yeah.
And then that just speaks to your IQ. Like, you knew that you had a newbie on you, and you just had her for lunch. Like, you took three steps, she followed you 3 times because she was so eager.
Exactly.
And now we don't have another offensive player in the game because she's now on the bench. So I looked at Coach Pirelli and I'm like,
it's you.
I'm on. And I think that just speaks to your IQ.
And it is true, because I try to tell the players, and even when I was playing it, it's like a game within a game. So you have the game, this team against that team, but then I have my game. And if I'm the best player and scoring all the points, this one, all their coach has been talking about is you got to guard me. And you're anxious, you're jumpy, you don't want to give her anything. And so I'm using that against you, because every little thing I do, any little thing, you're going to be because you're doing your job. So it's like it's playing those games within a game, in the sense of how to. It is, and that's the gamemanship, and that's sometimes we get mad at our players. I'm like, have some gamemanship. It's not, don't sell it. If you know you're setting a pick, you don't have to tell everybody else on the floor that you're about to set a pick.
Right.
You know, have a little secretive. So we joke about that, but it is true. There's, as you said, it's the skills are one thing, and the fundamentals. So you have the fundamentals. You always need those. Then you add a little bit of flair, a little bit of something. The extra behind the back passes when they're there. But then it's how do you use it? And as things are happening this quickly, that separates you as you go. All of that.
Well, plus you played every position on the floor.
Yeah.
Your value tripled. Quadrupled.
And that's players too, with younger players. I always tell them all the time, something you can work on is versatility. Versatility, whether it's on offense or on defense, being able to guard, being smart enough to guard multiple pieces. Even if you're small, I can still guard a big. If I do my work early, if I understand if the ball's lobbing over, I get back. I mean, there's, being versatile allows you to be on the floor and have an impact in different ways. And it's just, being one-dimensional, I don't think you can even be that anymore and continue on. If you're a shooter, you're easy to guard. If you can only drive and can't shoot, you better rebound and do some other things and guard and create havoc out there. But that's even easy to guard, because you can just clog it up for everybody else. So I tell kids all the time, it's just like, you got to do a little bit of everything. Because it's hard guarding a big who can shoot it, put on, like Deladon. She's like 6'4", 6'5", and she's not really strong, but being that tall and being able to shoot just is always putting you in a bind.
And her mechanics are just perfect.
I mean, you could be in her face and she's still getting it off.
Right.
And she's always well balanced. She hits tough shots, but it speaks to that. You got somebody 6'4", 6'5", and they're pulling you out behind the 3-point line or pulling up on the break. That's tough for a lot of bigs.
What do you remember about Big Ten basketball? Because I remember, like you said, the gamesmanship where I would look over my shoulder and see Barb Frankie putting on a show, and then Trish matching her, and then Barb doing something, or Angie Potoff or Robin Threet. I don't know if you remember Robin. Was remarkable. Yeah. Do you remember any players from the Big Ten?
I do. I thought it was great. I love the Big Ten. I thought the competitiveness, Iowa was, my freshman year was obviously a powerhouse with Nicole Tunsil, Tia Jackson, point guard, and the tall kid. I can't remember her name right now. And then Penn State, you had Tina Nicholson, you had some of those guys, and then, who else was? Michigan State had a decent squad at that time. It was to me, and we played each other twice.
Right.
So we had to, you had to home and away. Didn't have a Big Ten tournament until I was it my senior year?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought it was great basketball. It was just a knockdown, drag out every night, in the sense of you knew these teams, they're coming in, trying to take away things, but really loved it. And then obviously, you got some non-conference stuff out. And, but the Big Ten still loved it, because prior, obviously, Ohio State had some success, but just even now, just following the Big Ten players, there's definitely a love for the support of those guys as they get into the league and see them out there.
Well, Columbus in itself was just such a remarkable place to play. Even when we go to the games and play there, it was even better than Northwestern because there were 10, 15,000 fans. Yeah. And if you scored, and I'm sure you know this at Iowa, you just shut up the whole arena, right? And it was a really cool feeling to silence everyone. And I remember a few times at Columbus, I was being heckled a lot. And I'm sure you've dealt with that.
It was, to me, the worst. Okay, so Iowa was awesome. I like their arena, but they didn't really remember. But Penn State at their field house, I mean, you're literally taking the basketball out, and the fans are sitting right there.
Right.
And they're students, and they're just right behind you. I mean, it was just annoying, and because they were always just chirping and chirping and chirping, and you can't get away from them because they're just right there. So they were quite annoying. But yeah, I've heard things. I mean, it's, fans are always, and then when they boo, because I always know you're doing your job when the other fans are booing if you foul, or because that means you're doing something well for them to not like you if you're scoring, or if you get another foul, you foul out, they're going bananas because I guess I have done my job because I'm doing something well for you guys not to like me.
Right.
So
did
I always
it ever
look at it like
motivate you? Sometimes it just, for me, when I played, because I could block it out, it would just be a weird moment where everything got quiet, and then someone would say, "Go home, 33," or "You suck, 33," or
exactly.
I'm like, what did I do? Like, I'm just playing basketball. Because
it's not, it's just like you said, it's not the whole game. You're not hearing every comment. Because people are like, "Do you hear everything?" I'm like, every once in a while, something like, as you said, a free throw or it's a dead ball or something, as you say, gets quiet, you'll hear it. But in general, it's just noise. Because I would always look at it as, I'd rather play in front of 10,000 opposing teams' fans than 100 people. So there's more noise and more energy, the better it is. Whether they're cheering for us or against us, let's have at it.
Really?
Yeah.
So
I'm
no
always
pressure?
Nah, it's almost easier on the road because it's like us against the world in a sense. You're like, all right. The only thing is you get the other team rolling, and obviously you get a lot of energy from their crowd. But honestly, playing on the road is always fun.
I think so too.
But yeah, I had to me, I never got nervous. Only anticipation of like a big game. Like you just wanted to perform and do your job well. But other than that, like fans, bring them. For us or against us, let's get that energy because it's just way more fun to be in front of.
So you loved it. You loved what you did.
Yeah.
You weren't afraid of it because you were just having too much fun.
Yeah, because that's what you do, and have people come and support you and get hype about what you're doing or cheering against you. It's just, it's way more fun like that than playing in an empty gym. So, yeah.
Well, you were physically so strong, and you could move, and even with like the additional muscle, you could still move. Mm-hmm. What type of mental training did you do? Obviously physically, you kind of, thanks to mom and dad for giving me some good genes, but the mental stuff was just thinking the game. I think it was, first of all, knowing all positions, being a versatile player made you kind of aware of multiple things, and then also the coaches I've had over the years. I think it's just kind of who I am in a sense too. I think we all have our personalities and kind of how we go about business. So, my brain probably paralysis by analysis sometimes. Like sometimes I probably thought too much when I was out there. Instead of just being, dumb sometimes. I mean, like I'm shooting this thing no matter what if I miss the last 10. So there's little times like that. But I think just in general, the mental part, I watched film, obviously listened a lot. I took a lot of what I've heard, but also what I see just in general or experience. So, I'm on the floor and something happens, or this is how they're guarding it, then you just kind of play off of it. So a lot of it's just a lot of little things from watching it, from somebody teaching you it, and then obviously your experiences, and then hopefully, obviously just for me, I think I'm a little bit of a thinker when it comes to the game. Was there ever any doubt, I don't know, in relation to injuries or?
Yeah, I mean, you probably more so for injuries. Yeah, you question as you're coming back, because I've had a couple. Will I get back? First of all, will your doctor and your body actually heal? Because they really have nothing to do with that. But then, can I get back to the quickness and skill that I need to keep performing? So yeah, there's a little bit of that when you're doing your rehab, of like, I wonder what, because you have to kind of wait and see in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And you do the work, but you're also, at the end of the day, you're like, you've seen people that do and don't. So that definitely was doubt at that point. Other than that, I always felt like I could compete with anybody, like a big, small, whatever, as I went. Just always knew that the skills I had, toughness I had, or whatever you want to say, I was like, I really can play with anybody. And that's kind of how I always felt. Until I got older, and then I'm like, man, the warm up and stuff, I can't move. It's going to take a while.
Well, what's an example, if you can think back, of the grittier moments in your life where you either proved to yourself or to someone else, like a detailed
for one of them in a general scheme is I played till I was 39 and professionally. And if I, even to, it was only 2 years ago, but, being able to play that long and actually play that well and keep up with 22-year-olds and actually guarding them, and you still you did well, that's hard, because you're doing a lot more maintenance, a lot more treatment, a lot more rest, and for that part, I think it was, for me, playing for so long and trying to play at a high level was really something that was hard. Gritty, I guess. When I hurt my knee during the WNBA season. It was an Olympic year. It was 2004. I hurt it a few weeks before the Olympics, but did a lot of treatment. Went to the Olympics, continued to do treatment, and tried to get back out there, playing and practicing. But then I ultimately tore it at the Olympics. So just that part of just trying to go ahead and kind of push your body as far as you could. Obviously for something major like the Olympics, but just that of being able to push through with that and all injuries. I had two ACLs and a herniated disc. So those are all, it takes a lot to do. First of all, you got to question yourself, like, do I really want to do this, or is it time to? Is your body telling you something to, give it up?
The same ACL?
Yeah, same one in the 98 and 04. So it had some time in between. So it was after college. It went pretty smooth the first one. Second one was a little bit, it just doesn't like to straighten or bend all the way, but it still worked for quite a while after.
Did you know, because when I blew up my ACL halfway, and then I did the same thing. I tried to rehab and come back. I knew it was going to go. Did you know too?
I didn't know necessarily. I knew I had hurt it somehow, and it was already a graft, so I didn't know. You were trying to hopefully it would start feeling better, but it just didn't do a whole lot, even the couple weeks I had. But I also was all right. I'm not all right with it, but I was willing to, hey, let's go try this. I mean, worst case scenario is you tear it, then you go have surgery, and it's like, it stinks, but it's also like, it could be worse. After I had my back injury, a knee is nothing compared to nerve type of damage and stuff that you're not even sure that you'll get it back. And I can deal with a knee replacement someday, but then your back is definitely a touchier subject.
So did the back come after the knee?
Yeah, it was. Exactly, because this one didn't bend all the way out. It was 04-ish. No, not 04-ish. It was 08, 09, something like that. Herniated disc, had some numbness and weakness in my leg. Had to sit out the last month of the season, and then it took about. I elected not to have surgery because I didn't have pain. I just had some referral type numbness and weakness. So I just did rehab and tried to let it heal, and it came back. I probably have, probably 95%, 98. You know what I mean? I just have a couple percent every once in a while. You're like, yeah, that balance is just a little. But honestly, that was way more anxious than a knee, because I'm like.
Well, that feeling of that tingling, and it's your back.
Sometimes
it's
a burn, and sometimes it's that weakness being able.
The one thing that everyone should know is not only have you played to a great deal of success up till 39, and you're now transitioning with broadcasting. You're the assistant coach of the WNBA's great team, New York Liberty, right now, on fire. Was it hard to go from one to the other, and sort of like what's on deck for you? You have a lot of potential and possibilities. What are you thinking?
And that makes it hard sometimes. We can't just get into it. You know what? So the transition from player to coach was really easy, and I think it was more because I think you have like two types of players: those that get older and fight it. I can still do it. I should play. I should do this. You know what I mean? Or those that get older and start morphing and understanding their role and kind of figuring out where they fit in, and kind of really embracing it. So for me, it was just as I played my last few years, became more of a role player. Still played a lot of minutes, but just wasn't. I wasn't the one dropping 20 or getting all the shots. You were just more defense and getting your shots here and there, and then. Just moved right on over, and it's been a smooth transition for me because I think it's partly I called it when I retired on my terms. I pretty much played until I couldn't play anymore, so I really got all the basketball out of me playing wise that I could. Now others, I think it's harder if you got hurt earlier or you wanted to play overseas and wanted to play in a WNBA and never made a team. I think it would be harder to kind of move on, but for me it just was. It's really, really easy to get on the other side and now try to tweak and motivate and help the players do little things that are going to help them have success and then ultimately have us have success. So it's been really. I've only played I think one time since I retired 2 years ago. So no, I don't really get an itch to being in the gym, being around it, it still makes you feel good.
You do demos without the ball?
Yeah, I mean, I'll do it with the ball some, but I don't do a whole lot. I'll do it's a short demo. It's like, this is how we're supposed to be. You stay in this little tight spot, and then you guys go.
Have someone demo for you.
Yeah, so I'll mess around with them, but I'll do some free throw games. I'll do whatever, but I don't. No, I just show them what I know and try to show them on film, and we're not no one-on-ones.
I think you know your limits at this point.
Yeah, I'm like, you want to shoot? Sure, we can do that.
Yeah. You're gonna be able to shoot forever.
That's what I mean. I can do that. I pick and choose the things
hustle
that I know.
until you're like
now I can
60s.
tell them how great I was. Now some of them, obviously played with and against, and then the others don't have a clue. But yeah, it's fun.
Well, what you did is truly extraordinary. It is so extraordinary. And sitting here talking to you, and I had dinner with you last time. Are you always this confident, this fun?
Yeah, confident, not always. I think, even at this point in my life, and, something to tell your kids is, basketball was basketball. And not that I didn't do other things and didn't take school seriously, but probably didn't create that next thing early enough, or didn't put the work, because there's a lot of time you had on your hands. I mean, for me overseas and playing WNBA, watching enough movies and, whatever. But, for me, it's just, right now, just figuring out what you're going to be good at, what you want to do. Do you really just want to? Coaching is a stressful job. It is a little nerve-wracking. So confident, yes, I'm confident that I'll always put in the hard work. I'm confident that I do know my stuff when it comes to basketball. On the broadcasting side, that's a whole nother, that's a brand new thing. It's 2 years for me. It's so much, all the details and intricacies of that the only exposure I had to it was watching basketball on TV. Right. Then now on the other side, you're like, I had no idea all this was going on while these guys are doing the broadcast. So even that, you have moments where you're just like, I have no clue how I did. So, some of the foreign areas like that definitely are a little bit more questioning and wondering how you're doing, and you want more feedback. The basketball side, of course, there's lots of things I have to learn on the coaching side, and you always question yourself about, are you doing enough, or did you do wrong play call, or are you doing this, but it's something that I do know. That's a little easier to grasp. But questioning, confident, I'm confident that I can pick it up. But fun, I liked it. I enjoy life. Why not? I've been playing basketball forever. I've met great people. I've traveled the world. I have a great family. It honestly, just want to keep growing and hopefully find a way to give back and kind of find that niche, because I've had so many people give to me, and that the game's given to me, and it's how do I, now that I'm kind of done with the playing part, now how do I use it? And that's kind of, it's fun, but it's a little bit nerve-wracking.
Well, we're definitely going to have you in to do post clinics, point guard clinics, every position clinic, and I want to bring you in with my boys, because between the two of us, they're not going to hit them. Yeah. But it'll be fun and funny, and I think they will have a great deal of respect on the spot. And that's sort of the last things I would end up talking about is sort of the double standards in women's sports, where you are extraordinary, and the fact that you're here with me and all the things you've done is just so remarkable, and the fact that not enough people know about you compared to your male counterpart. How do you sort of go through that in all the years that the sport has evolved, and you have been one of the greatest players? How do you reconcile at each point where you hit the double standard?
You think about it, the male-female, I mean, yes, you'd be well known and probably wouldn't have to have a job for the rest of my life or something if I was a guy and did the things I did. But then you're also like, well, what's my quality of life going to be? Well, I probably couldn't go to the movies and couldn't do this. So there's I don't really know if I want that, but I do want to be, comfortable. So, and you also have to make money to make, you have to bring in money as a league or a sport to then get paid money, because then there wouldn't be the WNBA or a professional league here. There is that economics behind it. It is, frustrating, because in all business, it's a little, the male-female part, but it's also still having the opportunity to do what I love and do it here in the States, and actually get paid for it. And my mom would always tell me, you make more money than me. She was a teacher, and I was like, well, you're right, okay. And you have probably, I'm not saying a bigger impact, but you have a huge impact on a lot of young people's lives. So I guess it's always just keeping it in perspective. There's always people that are not as doing as well as you and would love to be in your shoes. And, you know, I had people who tell me over life, oh, you should, you know, stop playing and go back to school and figure out what's next. And then others would be like, play till your wheels fall off. And I was like, sure, I'm going to keep on playing until the wheels fall off, because it's amazing. It really is an amazing experience. So, you know, in that sense. And then for me, I think my personality, on the other hand, is also a little bit more low-key, where there's other female basketball players who are more well-known in the sense of the name recognition. But accolades or playing wise or whatever on the floor, you know, there's no difference. It's just a matter of, like, you know, depending on how big your name is. But I'm all right with where I was, and I'm all right how it all turned out. You know, I hope, you know, as I said, I hope people respected what I did, and that's really the bottom line. I respected how I went about it, and I hope that other people really enjoyed it.
Well, we signed up for this because we just loved it.
Yeah.
We didn't sign up for because we knew there would be
We didn't know what was out there.
the money, the gravy train, right? We didn't, and I think when we see other people who care about something, whether it be the trumpet or the violin or medicine, I really have a great deal of respect, because we gave so much of ourselves to something because we loved it.
Right.
And that can be said about our male counterparts.
Oh, yeah.
It also just, that whole money piece can sort of be mind-blowing to a lot of people, right? It can be both a blessing and a curse.
Exactly. And that's where, like, on the lady side, like, yeah, there's some that make a good chunk of money, whether it's overseas or endorsements, but the majority, you're going to have to find another career later on. Mm-hmm. And that's okay, because still basketball gives you so many, I mean, the connections and the network that you have from sports, and then the experiences, the places you get to travel, the diversity, the whatever. I mean, it's just, I wouldn't have passed it up for anything. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously, it's just, you know, the kids that start playing basketball now hear the WNBA, they hear about the overseas, they know there's money to be made. But I'm glad I grew up when I did, because we just started playing basketball and any other sport just because this is a blast, and I loved it, and I loved to compete, and I didn't mind getting hit, and it's just like, all of a sudden you're like, what? I can go to college? Oh, oh, I want to be on the Olympics. Oh, this is how you do it? Oh, they're starting a league in the States. Okay. And it's like, it just, I came at like the perfect time, like right out of college, the two leagues started, the ABL and the WNBA, and it was just like, all right, next step. So I was really lucky to not, just kind of flow right into things. But it was like this, every time you opened another package, like, what? We can keep doing this?
Right, so you love the ride.
Yeah, it's like, who wouldn't have? But because you had no expectations that this was how your life was going to go.
Right, and my mother was a nurse, yours was a teacher, and probably the third option at the time was a housewife.
Yeah.
So we really we had options.
Yeah.
And we chose, and we loved it.
Yeah. So that's like the coolest thing about it. It's just, it was a really natural, organic way of just like, oh, you're good at something? Let me keep going. Yeah. And then just seeing and all these things happen, and the people you meet and the experiences you have, like, unreal. So yeah, so I, when I've enjoy it, I just think it's been the best ride and thing that's ever happened. So it's pretty cool.
Okay, to end with, this has been great, and there's a lot of takeaways. What are the three things that you wish you had done differently, followed by the three things that made you just excellent at what you do? Differently,
not a ton. You know what I mean? Really not a ton. There's a couple of things as I got older, like I wish I would have gone overseas a little bit more. There's a couple years that I passed it up. I should have gone. One time, so I went to Seattle. When I was in the WNBA, I went to Seattle and I absolutely loved my time there. I love the city, but I had a choice to go maybe to Minnesota, back to Minnesota. So I have some wonder how that would have turned out. But other than that, like, honestly, like going to Ohio State and staying in basketball, like, honestly, I'm really happy I'd probably do it over again. So, and then the three things that I think have made me, I guess, good at what I do, there's nothing to get around it, and it's like cliche. It's bottom line is hard work. Mm-hmm. Like, I spent hours and hours and hours in the gym by myself, playing games in my head, like, oh, this is a move, this is my pullback, shots going, clock's going down, like almost game-like type of things. All the cardio I did, all the workouts I did, making sure I got them in every day. So, like, bottom line is hard work. There's nothing, you can't beat it. On top of that, especially with basketball players, and I think with anything that separates, say we're the same athlete, same skills, attention to detail. Mm-hmm. I think attention to detail is huge. Did you set the pick? What was the angle of your pick? Do you understand what you're looking for? Defense, like, just, all the little things that don't show up on a stat sheet. but ultimately separate you into a great player and also your team to a great team and winning a championship. And yeah, but that's really it. And I think just the thinking, I think embracing the fact that there's a lot of parts to it. Even though it's just basketball, there's a lot that goes on in there. And if you're playing with a team, really understanding all the dynamics. But yeah, hard work and attention to detail, two huge things I think can go with any career.
That's great. And it seems like you loved it.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it.
All of it.
Still love it now. And on the other side, watching, I think the biggest thing is to have people have a great experience, whatever their experience is. It could be high school, it could be junior high, it could be college, it could be whatever, but just having like a great experience around basketball and getting the most out of it that you can, because your journey, my journey, we're all different.
Right.
But how can I help? If you want to listen, you want to take this away, it's all about you. I did mine. So like, what are you going to do with it? So that's what I hope they, whoever I come in contact with will have the best journey they can have.
It's great. So work hard, pay attention to detail, and love the journey.
Yeah, really embrace your own and see where it takes you.
You are great. You're a total inspiration. I can't believe you're here. I can't wait to tell all my friends. You're one of the greatest in the game, and it was really great to see you. And let's stay in touch. I'll follow the end of the season, and
Yes.
I'd love to see you in the gym with the kids.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Maureen.
For the latest on podcasts, blogs, training videos, and jump shot videos, visit momotion.com. Thank you for listening.